I am Staff Sergeant Donovan Fisher, and I'm the officer in charge of the Integrated Organized Crime Unit North. The IOC North is an integrated unit that's comprised of members of the RCMP and the Saskatoon Police Service. Our mandate is to reduce the impact of serious and organized crime through federally mandated investigations, crime prevention strategies, and the gathering of intelligence. Project Forseti was a significant investigation that began in November of 2013 into the organized crime in Saskatchewan. Yesterday, search warrants were executed on 5 communities within Saskatchewan and 2 communities within Alberta. As a result of these search warrants, 14 adults were arrested and charged with offenses relating to drug trafficking, weapons offenses, assault, and proceeds of crime. Project Forseti resulted in 5.4 kilograms of methamphetamine, 2.6 kilograms of cocaine, 3,358 fentanyl pills, 107 grams of heroin, 145 pounds of marijuana, 456 dilaudid pills, and 454 grams of cannabis resin, which is also known as hash. These have been effectively removed from our streets. Investigators also seized approximately 200 firearms, tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition, 4 ballistic vests, and 1 conducted energies weapon. Some of these firearms seized yesterday were also prohibited and restricted weapons. Approximately $100,000 in cash was seized as proceeds of crime, and 7 vehicles were seized as offense-related property. As a result of intelligence gathered during Project Forseti and a joint investigation between the IOC North and the E-Division RCMP's Federal and Serious Organized Crime Unit, a search warrant was conducted on January 6, 2015 in Burnaby, British Columbia. The search resulted in the seizure of 2 pill presses and several kilograms of premixed powders. These types of pill presses are industrial-level machines commonly associated with the production of MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy, as well as the production of the fentanyl or counterfeit OxyContin pills. Investigators became aware of these pill presses after the deaths related to the counterfeit OxyContin in September 2014. Fentanyl pills or counterfeit OxyContin have been linked to several recent deaths in Western Canada. Investigators have determined that the fentanyl pills seized during this investigation are the same chemical composition as the ones responsible for the recent deaths in Saskatoon. The advantages of an integrated approach to law enforcement are many, and Project Forseti highlighted the best of these. More than 100 police officers from Saskatchewan and Alberta participated in the searches yesterday. During the 13-month investigation, resources and intelligence were shared. Specialized units from the RCMP provided investigational skills in the areas of proceeds of crime and covert operations. Yesterday, the parade room of the Saskatoon Police Service was transformed into a command post for these operations. Individuals arrested and items seized during the searches were processed by members of the RCMP and the Saskatoon Police Service working side by side in the Saskatoon Police Service building. This demonstrates integration at its best. The complex investigations succeed when law enforcement agencies work in partnership. Charges like these announced today are possible because of the efforts and the dedication of members of the Calgary RCMP Federal Serious and Organized Crime Unit, the Vancouver RCMP Federal and Serious Organized Crime Units, Prince Albert Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit, Red Deer's Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams under the Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit, Canada Border Services Agencies, the National Weapons Enforcement and Support Teams, various other units within the Saskatoon Police Service, and the Saskatchewan RCMP, and finally, the Integrated Organized Crime North team. The specially trained and equipped officers in these units provide essential skills and expertise that were critical during this investigation. I commend each of these investigators for their commitment to the communities that we all serve. I would also like to thank the Financial Transactions and Reporting Analysis Centre of Canada, who also worked closely with investigators during this project. The Integrated Organized Crime Unit North is continuing this investigation, and arrest warrants and additional charges are anticipated in the upcoming weeks. One final note, as I was watching the newscast last night, I saw people expressing a number of concerns and even fear about the police presence in their communities. I do understand these concerns, and police officers are sometimes required to wear special equipment that is unfamiliar to the public. I want to reassure the public that there was extensive and significant planning took place to ensure the safety of the public yesterday. Public safety is always our primary concern in these matters. Thank you.
I'm Jerome Engel, Inspector in charge of investigative support for Saskatoon Police Service. On behalf of the Saskatoon Police Service, I also want to thank our partner agencies and officers from the Saskatoon Police Service. Pardon me. Much of policing is proactive work, but it's not often that the work is visible to the public at large. Many times the investigations are long and arduous. Project Forseti has been one of the most significant in the history of our city and our province. The project is a great example of how that proactive police work has paid off and will benefit the community. It has taken an approximate $8 million in a wide range of drugs off the streets. It has shut down a pill press operation, stopped the production of fentanyl pills being sold as OxyContin by this group. It has removed illegal firearms and resulted in charges against the people and outlaw motorcycle clubs from profiting from criminal activity. We have announced the names of those arrested and the charges they are facing. They are all either members or affiliates of two outlaw motorcycle clubs, the Hells Angels and the Fallen Saints. Recently, Saskatoon Police have investigated the deaths of 3 individuals. Pardon me, as a result of taking fatal amounts of counterfeit OxyContin which contained fentanyl. The pills recovered in Project Forseti are counterfeit OxyContin 80s containing fentanyl. We cannot say at this time they came from the batch as those taken by the 3 young men who recently died, but we are comfortable in saying the characteristics are very similar. While the RCMP in British Columbia has seized 2 pill presses used to make counterfeit OxyContin, we want to caution the public that taking pharmaceuticals which are not prescribed to you is never safe. We know there will still be pills for sale on the streets, and we know the makeup of the counterfeit OxyContin has changed to look more like the authentic pill. Greenish blue on the outside and white on the inside, as well as a white colored pill scored down the center looking similar to a Tylenol pill. The only way to prevent injury or death from illegal pharmaceuticals is not to take them. This investigation is continuing with more charges and arrests in the near future.
Thanks, Jerome. So because this is a joint operation, the RCMP has asked that members of the media from outside of Saskatoon, from rural communities, be able to be present by conference call and be able to ask some questions. And we're going to have that now so that we can get that part of it done and move on to your questions again, or move on to your questions right afterward. So we'll take some questions, Mandy, if you want to
Sure.
to ask them.
We'll start. Is Greg from the Melfort Journal on the line? Devin from the Tisdale Recorder?
Yes, I'm wondering which of the accused were found in Melfort, Star City, and Nipawin?
Staff Sergeant Fisher, do you want to answer that question at the microphone?
Yes, the one accused that we have arrested and charged from the Melfort area is by the name of Armand Hunjet.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Is that going through here? Or?
Does he need to
You
come
can just speak
closer?
a little
Okay.
louder, yeah.
The accused from the Melfort area is Armand Hunjet.
Okay, Devin, do you have one more question?
Yes, and I'm wondering how, if in any way, were the local police services in those three communities involved?
Yeah, the local police service would have been intricate in our, again, addressing the concerns of public safety. They would have been used for security, scene control, as well as being able to respond to additional calls or concerns of the public during the operations.
Perfect. All right, we'll move now to Sun Media in Toronto. Is someone there from there? No?
Hey there, sorry, I was having a hard time hearing. Can you please just say which two gangs might have been involved or targeted? Hells Angels and what, sorry?
Jerome, do you want to answer that?
The two groups are the Hells Angels and the Fallen Saints.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, do you have one more question?
And who was it that was speaking last? I couldn't get the title. I believe it was somebody from the Saskatoon Police.
Jerome Engel, Detective Inspector, Investigative Support.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move to Calgary Metro. Morgan, are you on the line? Okay, we'll move to the Lloyd source. Jamie, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the investigation is still ongoing.
Yes.
Okay, Jamie, do you have one more question?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, so that ends the portion of the teleconference calls. We can take some questions from you folks now. Guillaume?
Yes.
Okay, Jerome?
Mr. Engel, first of all, I'd like to know a little bit more about the Fallen Sims. We know that the Fallen Sims, and let me know if it's the same Fallen Sims as the one that are in U.S. right now in Texas, or is it a different group? And are they replacing the freewheelers as the puppet club of HAC?
First of all, I know nothing about the U.S. Fallen Saints, so I can't say if they're associated or not. I can say that the Fallen Saints in Saskatoon started over the summer. They are puppet club for the Hells Angels, as well as the freewheelers still being active in the city of Saskatoon.
Did the investigation start with those overdose deaths last September, or did it start before then?
The investigation started in November of
2013.
2013, so it's been going on for the last 14 months, plus the previous intelligence and gathering, which goes on for months prior to the start of an investigation.
And did the most recent fentanyl overdose deaths, did that prompt you guys to take action, or was this the kind of drop dead day no matter what?
An investigation goes on by the activities that are occurring on the street and how we can reach our goal and reach a point where we have achieved what we set out in our operational plan. And that dictates where we were going to go. And in this case, it's unfortunate we had someone pass away, but at the same time, it's just a coincidence that we were near this takedown date. Right. And another point is that the investigation was not into just OxyContin prior to the deaths of anyone. It was in regards to organized crime and the activities of groups and people in the city and surrounding areas of the province of Saskatchewan and areas.
What prompted the initial start of the investigation?
I'll let you go with that one.
Well, all of our investigations are based on a threat assessment, an assessment of the intelligence that's available at the time, and the evidence and the background of the specific organized crime group that we're looking into. So at this time, they were identified by the threat assessment that we conducted and the availability of conducting an investigation. So that's initially how those start.
In the past, you've said that the Saskatoon Hells Angels are an proven criminal organization. Is that changed today?
Well, it hasn't changed today. We have to appear in courts until everything is proven in a court of law. However, we do know that a group from Ontario, which is has gone through the courts and been designated as an organized crime group. During the Canada Run, members of that group were here participating with our Hells Angels in the activities in that Canada Run, and members of those groups have been in and out of Saskatoon, pardon me, for the last few years. So, I mean, looks like a duck, walks like a duck.
The charges that are pending, will those be related to the OxyContin deaths at all?
Charges that are pending are all of the evidence that has been gathered to date, and the investigators in major crime will be pursuing charges to see if we actually can be laying charges in as a result of the product that has been being seized. However, you have to realize that you have to be able to say beyond any doubt that the cause of the death was fentanyl. And in a lot of cases, when you finish the toxicology, you will find that on board were numerous other drugs. And the report will say that it's a drug overdose. They won't say exactly from what drug. So it's very difficult to say that.
How many of the 14 adults who were charged are members of the two motorcycle clubs?
All of them except one. They're all members or affiliates. The one's a courier.
Can you confirm that at least one full patch member of the Hells Angels is being charged right now?
I can confirm that two are. One from Alberta, one from Saskatchewan.
What's the significance of charging a full patch Hells Angels member in Saskatoon in an operation of this scope?
Well, the significance is that we have a group of people that are calling themselves a member of a group. They wear those colors to walk out in the streets of the city of Saskatoon to garner that distance so that no one will come near them, to show power, to show that they are force. And we also want to, in this investigation in the end, have organized crime charges laid and pursue the fact that we have an organized crime group working in this city. Until that's proven in the court of law, we can't say that. Now, we have groups of people where they are out on the street, and I'm not going to say that it's just a Hells Angel in this case. We have two organized crime groups that were stopping on our streets, beating people up on the streets. They're also charged with assaults. This cannot happen. We had a show of force where 50 excessive, or in an amount of 30 to 50 members just showed up in PA as a result of an assault on the streets in PA or in a bar in PA. They showed up to show their force and that they are going to own these places. They don't. We, the public, own the places, and we, the police, will enforce the laws.
Anticipate charges against other Hells Angels in Saskatoon?
The investigation is continuing. We will have more charges, and more arrests will be coming. I can tell you more people will be arrested.
Can you say what was seized in the clubhouse in Saskatoon, if something was?
Evidence.
How confident are you that the bad pills, the OxyContin, that was so dangerous, that it's, I mean, do you think that it's still circulating in the city?
We can't be naive. We know that this isn't only one group or one supplier of product that comes into the city. We have many suppliers of product that come into the city and into the province. So this is just a tip of an iceberg. The public have to be very, very careful, and our young people especially cannot be taking any drugs, period, if they're not prescribed to them by a physician. It's just too harmful, and the risks are way too high.
The arrests here, are they included in the arrests are the leaderships of these two gangs? The leadership level?
One is the president of the Fallen Saints, a a sergeant at arms of the Fallen Saints. The rest I can't remember.
Who's the president, which of the teams?
Noah Selsky.
There were 2 homes in Warman raided, and there were no residents of Warman that were actually arrested. Can you give us an indication of were these houses being used as simply distribution points, or was that?
Yeah, again, these were affiliates or members of these groups, and there were in fact arrests in the residence that were subject of the search warrants.
So they're living there? Like they were in Warman? Because there's nobody from Warman identified in the actual listing.
Well, again, the lifestyle of these people, they tend to move regularly, so we believe that that's where they were living at the time. But again, it's speculation to say that was their permanent or full-time residence. They did appear to be living in these residences at the time they were arrested.
Can you give us an indication of the actual relationship between the Fallen Saints and the Hells Angels? Is it a public club? Is it kind of a group of prospects trying to get into Hells Angels?
That one is tough to answer because I don't really know the exact answer. It's a group that has gathered together technically as a puppet club. They're working in coordination. Hold it, I got to be a little careful here. I can't answer that one because of the fact that we have to put this in front of the courts, and it'll be up to the investigators. We have a lot of evidence that's going to prove a lot of things, and I don't want to hurt all the work that our investigators did. So I can't answer that one.
Quick questions, Jerome, if you don't mind. First one, is it common to see that much, such a big quantity of heroin? I was surprised by that.
It's not common for heroin to be in Saskatoon. In fact, we saw very little. In my 34 years in the police service, we have seized tops 4 grams of heroin total. So this is an extremely large amount of heroin to be brought into the city. But as a result of the crystal meth usage and the lifestyles of our crystal meth users, we are seeing more heroin come in, and the more addictive factors from heroin and crystal meth, and as a result, we're seeing more heroin.
As a donor, right?
Right.
And maybe a silly question, but how proud are your members right now, both members?
Well, my buttons, I've lost a lot of weight, but my buttons are bouncing, going to pop right out of here. We're really proud. We're really proud of our officers and what they did, how hard they worked, and they deserve a large pat in the back. If I could, I'd give them all a big raise, but I just can't do that.
Yeah. And I'll comment on that too. Just again, this is a significant seizure, and I'm certainly proud of my members and the members on the IOCN. The public never knows how much of their own time, how much of their family life and the sacrifices they've made to ensure that a number of the bumps in the road along the way, that they stayed the extra hours, sometimes extra days, lots of weekends to ensure that this happened, and we did achieve the success that we did yesterday.
How large of a coordinated effort was this? How many man-hours would you think would have gone into something like this?
Yeah, it's easily tens of thousands of hours. It's again, there were so many hours put in by members that were never accounted for. You know, we can't speak to the value of our partners all across Western Canada, really, who stepped up and assisted. Obviously, they have a vested interest in success as well, but oftentimes they had their own local pressures that they had to deal with to make time to assist us on obviously a very serious matter. The deaths could be directly attributed to a number of things that were happening all across the country. So I think everybody worked very well together to address this problem.
Was there special funding devoted to this particular operation, you know, in above, you know, your normal sort of yearly operational budget?
No, we were able to achieve this working within our regular budgets, the money that's designated for us to conduct operations. So we do have to operate within that, and the project just specifies a certain amount of money that's set aside at the beginning of the project from those funds.
Well, what operation?
Well, again, not to keep saying the same thing, but I do feel it was the dedication of the members. They worked very hard. They covered off every possible angle that we could on this file, and really, I think just about every investigational technique that was available to us was used.
Why did you choose the time you chose to do the searches? Because from what I understand, usually they do the search warrants overnight, and do it that time. Why did you choose it during, I guess, a bit of a rush hour time in Saskatoon?
Well, first of all, 6 a.m. isn't a rush hour in Saskatoon. Most of the people are in bed sleeping. You're arousing from your sleep. You're not in a deep sleep. The chance of people, if they have weapons around, to get to them that's probably a good time for us to get in a door. We can react quickly. We can use the darkness to our advantage instead of against us. And put it this way, none of us like getting up and coming to work at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. like most of our officers did. It's just, we felt that that was a great time. Obviously it was. None of the public were injured or had anybody hurt. We had no police officers injured, and all the people that were arrested are not injured. So I think the time we picked was the right one.
And it was a tactical consideration too as well, just to expound on what Jerome had just mentioned. Again, the people that we're dealing with in these types of investigations, they don't get up at 7 a.m. to go to work. They start their day off and in the afternoon and continue on till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So we had to take that into consideration as well, that's again, that gives us the tactical advantage of going after those times.
So there was an assault charge against a number of individuals, and the assault was against one of the individuals who was arrested. Was that assault yesterday, or was that a prior assault? Was that assault during or in the hours leading up to the raids, or was that earlier than that? And how do you, I mean, without the claim comes forward and giving you that?
It's 3 separate assaults, right?
4
Yeah.
on 1.
4? So there are separate assaults from incidents that occurred over the length of the investigation. It didn't just happen. Some of them maybe were fairly recent, but they've been spread out.
So was that surveillance? Is that how, or was it before?
It's investigative techniques used by the police, and they did an excellent job.
Were surveillance techniques used, I guess, were you guys staking out?
The police are everywhere. I want the public to know that. Our eyes and ears are all around. And if you're going to break the law, we're eventually going to catch you, and you're going to have to pay the price. So we do a very good job. We have very diligent officers in our police services, the RCMP and the Saskatoon Police Service, along with PA Police Service and other services in this province. Your policing is excellent, and it shows by the work and the diligence that they did, and you will see by the evidence that's collected, they have done a very good job.
Why Project Forseti? Why do you call that?
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, it was the, and I have to remember which, it wasn't Greek, sorry. Nordic. It's the Nordic god of justice. So that was why that was picked.
Inspector Ranko, can you give us a sense of some of the elements that were part of the investigation? Allison, you mentioned undercover officers in the lead. Were there undercover officers, wiretaps, surveillance? What came into play here?
Well, I'll just give you a general comment because I don't want to tell you what we used in this operation, but I'll tell you what is available to police services. And while we're doing investigations, number one, we start with patrol. Patrol are the ones that are on the streets. They're doing bag card checks, so they'll stop a person, they're going to leave a check card, who you're associated with, who you're hanging around with, who you are, where you are, what time of the day you're there. From the next point, it goes to an investigative report. That'll be moving on to our investigative units, and our people in our OMG unit, they will follow up on incidents where we have members of Hells Angels or members of organized crime groups. They will follow those investigations or those leads to see if they should be doing anything more with it. When we go further into an investigation, surveillance will be utilized. We will look at different search warrants if we can put tracking warrants on, or get a tracking warrant to see if we can put trackers on different things. We will see if we can put video into certain places to watch, which also requires warrants and a lot of work. You just don't get them by not working hard to get the evidence. From there, we can utilize a Part 6 intercept, which is a wiretap. We can utilize informants. They're utilized a lot. They provide you information. There are people on the inside. They're so-called friends of the people that are there. They provide you intelligence. They provide you information that you hope is accurate and you're able to work on. That information is corroborated by our evidence. From that, we can also utilize agents. That's someone who is active and on the inside and assists the police, takes direction from the police, and works with it. So that's basically how you go, basically how an investigation can be run. I can say that we use most of the techniques all the time, not all of them all the time.
Did all of the raids start exactly at 6 o'clock yesterday, and were all of them successful? Did you find what you were anticipating? Were there any people who weren't there and you were expecting them to be there?
The raids didn't start all at the same time. We identified generally the higher risk ones to be done first. In this case, we conducted the raids in 3 waves, as we called them. Again, risk was the #1 factor in determining the order we did the raids in. The second consideration would be the preservation of evidence. And generally all the raids were successful. I'm just trying to remember your first part of your question. The people that we were looking for were all located yesterday.
Is this the end of the Fallen Saints? I mean, I'm sorry, John, as the president, is that going to be it for this assessment?
I can't speak for the Fallen Saints, but I can speak for the Saskatoon Police Service and the citizens of Saskatoon. We hope it is. We will see. Time will tell. We have time for 2 more questions.
Can you just say which chapter and number the member, the member who was?
Chapters with Calgary, Southland? Southland.
Given that there were 200 firearms, many of which were loaded and were successfully seized and there were no entries, how relieved are you with that?
Well, I can't say many were loaded. Some were loaded. And we're very relieved. I'm relieved every time when our officers come home safely at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's very relieving to see that and watch our people execute a plan to the T. And we spent long, long hours working on a plan. And that plan was so successful because of the work of all of our members, some of them in this room, and other members that aren't here. They're out gathering intelligence and doing other things. All of them, because of the work that they did, it aided us to put together a very good plan. And because of the way it was executed, it was successful. Without that, you always have hiccups. Things don't always go the way you want, but we adapt. And everything worked out the way we wanted it to. The good thing is everyone is safe.
$8 million in product was off the street. Is that one of the biggest seizures in Western Canadian history?
Well, now remember, I'm not a mathematician. I did the math. So we have a street value with all of the product that we seized, including the agents in British Columbia, the mixing agents in British Columbia, all of that, if we put it all together and that would have hit our streets in Saskatchewan, that's approximately an $8 million value. So that is very significant. It's very significant anywhere. And I'll tell you, this city, this province is very lucrative for criminals who want to come in here. And the reason it's lucrative is because we have public out there who aren't being cautious. They're using illegal drugs, they're using cocaine, and these aren't just normal little street people making mistakes. These are some of our so-called better businessmen. So they are aiding this crime by buying the product. So they cannot buy the product. And by the way, we're watching, they'll all wind up in jail one day.